Hello, good afternoon everyone. How's that for volume? Whether you're in headsets or not headsets, we'll go for that. So we're here to talk about the post-digital shift and how live drives all social engagement, which in real English, I guess, is how do we build events and brand experiences that can be amplified and grown through the use of social media. We are going to avoid personal social media today and just stick to LinkedIn and Twitter and other such channels. Interestingly, this picture here does show us that this picture's 80 years old or so, and shows us that newspapers around did the same job as LinkedIn and Twitter does on the tube. If anyone came, we know that we can't talk to anyone on the tube. So, just to put this in context, and you may not be able to see all of this, so I'll try and swap sides. Go back one. I represent an organization called Invent. We are a global brand experience company. We are live brand storytellers. There's a lot on this slide. I'm only going to mention three things. Global live brand storytelling agency, trademark, thank you very much. Challenge everything. This is our credo. This is the way we approach all events. In fact, we are the challenger agency for challenger brands. When you think challenger brands, we're not talking necessarily how innocent smoothies used to be or some small startups. We think of Samsung, not Apple, Subway, not McDonald's, those type of brands that we design, create and deliver live events for. And we are global. You won't be able to see this, but it's from one end of the world to the other. My boss has spent 15 years trying to build this brand very successfully, and we now have 24-hour coverage around the world. I'm 3 years old with Invent, and I have spent 20 years in live events, from delivering and operations to account director and now in biz dev. So that kind of puts us in the context of what we're talking about. We'll see if we can move on. Social media and the brand experience. This is a really wide topic, but from our perspective, social media gives you the chance to control your message that goes out in many, many different ways from your live event. So it is a communication tool at zero cost or virtually zero cost that allows you, regardless of time or space, wherever you are in the world. We've got some actual physical examples I'll show you in just a second of how this can be achieved in the real life. So whether you're streaming, tweeting, LinkedIn, Instagram, TV, whichever channel you wish to use to amplify your event, social media is the way forward. And for many, social media is social currency. I am sure we are all aware of brands that use social media really, really well, and probably some who do not. But this is now, we're also becoming aware of how social currency becomes real currency. What's certainly Invent, and we see more and more today, is the creation of events that allows brands to have people who come to their events or people who follow the events to become citizen journalists. Citizen journalists will do you the world of good. They will promote your brand for nothing because you have given them a positive experience. I was reading on the way up here today, actually, so one of the brands we're going to have a look at in a second is called Xero. It's an accountancy package specifically for small business. It's the modern evolution, the challenger brand to Sage. Or if anyone runs their own business, you need bookkeepers. There's a new platform called Xero. Somebody tweeted Xero today. I'll go back a step. Xero run a global series of events. They're called XeroCon. They are some of the best events, we feel, because we deliver them, in the world at promoting the brand Xero to customers, to partners, to prospects, to investors, and so forth. I've got some stats that I will show you in a second, but actually today, a customer of Xero tweeted them. Can anyone tell me how to bottle the experience of XeroCon and take it back to the office? That is the perfect result for an agency like us or for anyone who designs and delivers events. The absolute perfect result. You have given that consumer of your product the best experience that you can, and they've gone public with it. They are now your advocate. As we already know, and I'm sure many of you, I was just looking at Twitter on the way here. If anything's changed, I'll be delighted, because this isn't going to work. So trending today, certainly on my Twitter anyway. It's all full of Brexit and general election. I was hoping somebody would be running an event that was trending today, but we don't have that today. But what we post reflects us and it influences our own currency. So we've got events running into social media, into social currency. If you're an influencer, if you're lucky enough to be an influencer, that's your own currency. We can seeing and learning how people manage to monetize social currency as well. Never sure if I'm holding something down. So some examples. PepsiCo, client of ours. This actually dates back to 2012. So this is 7 years ago. This is at the beginning for us of the experience of social media and brand experience. PepsiCo decided, a classic challenger brand, Pepsi, not Coke, do it differently, drink Pepsi, all that stuff, to take over Bryant Park in New York in 2012 in the midst and the whole duration of the Super Bowl. Super Bowl in the States is obviously a much bigger thing than it is here. But they did it with a difference. Every brand in New York, every brand in the States was activating around the Super Bowl. PepsiCo decided to run Pep City. They took over Bryant Park and held a Festival of New York. Literally a festival celebrating the food, the culture, the theater, all cultural aspects of New York right in the middle of Super Bowl. There was absolutely no mention of football, as they would say, at all, hence the Challenger stuff. In terms of the social media impressions, bear in mind this is 7 or 8 years ago now. 13,000 people there, 1.4 thousand Insta posts, 7.5 million Twitter impressions. Not bad for 7 years ago. We're all a lot better at this now. We move on to XeroCon. I mentioned Xero. This is the accountancy platform. Not quite global yet, but doing a very, very good job. XeroCon, this is Brisbane this year. So roll on 7 years, these numbers are getting much better. The social reach, nearly 60 million people, and 61 million people reached by 191. And hence I was looking at Twitter earlier, XeroCon, hashtag XeroCon trended in Australia from 9 a.m. on the day of the event. There was also a movement, a really positive movement in the Xero share price on that day on the regional exchange. Now, I'd love to say that's because of XeroCon event, but it does show that there's potentially some real-world applications to social media when attached to the right of the event. And how do we do this? Well, festivalization. This is a wonderful term. We've seen it a lot recently. What does that mean? Or is it a new trend? Festivalization, if you type in festivalization of events into Google, all this stuff will come up, top 5 or 6 results, and these are all from June of this year. So just screenshots of how to festivalize your event, what do we do, how is the industry progressing, what are the advantages of festivalizing your event, and why. However, it is not a new trend. It's been going along for a while, as we've seen. We've seen Pep City there with their results. We then go on to XeroCon again with their better results. But we've still got a way to go. The clear winner, and I've just picked one, but one of the clear winners for us is Glastonbury. This is the ultimate festival event for many people here, and something to which brands and other organizations are working towards. Yes, there's a lot of brands that activate within, but the brand of Glastonbury, their numbers are truly astonishing when it comes to social media. 175,000 people. To give you an idea of context, that is almost double the number of people that go to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona every year. I think they're just about 100,000 now. The million plus Instagram posts, do you know, I don't know. I found so many figures. I spoke to my colleagues in the office yesterday and found a figure that was 51 billion Instagram posts related to Glastonbury. So what's that? 12 per person on Earth? I'm not sure. But anyway, an awful lot of Instagram activity. 460 million minutes of streaming. This is fantastic. And we'll get into the how in a second. Just as an aside, Glastonbury, the village, for 51 weeks of the year is one of the most connected villages in the country. They've got a huge pipe running down there with a permanent mast in the middle of this tiny village. And whenever 175,000 people come down, they build another 6 masts to accommodate something like, and I have no idea how much this is, 60 terabytes of data for the 4 days that people are there. I'm assuming that's a lot. But this is the ultimate example, and perhaps something that we should all be working towards in our festivalization events, and therefore using social media to do so. How can events, let's check this one. How can events move towards the festivalization and therefore using social media to better the size of the audience and the engagement of that brand with the audience? 3 things, if you can't see them: fun, shareable moments, and insights. Fun, it doesn't matter if your brand that you are representing or you are working as an agency for is a cool, funky B2C brand like PepsiCo, or a B2B IBM, or a membership or association organization. There are so many different ways, and that is our job, is to design these events better, to give people, to allow them to have fun. Yes, there's got to be a balance. No one, I'll go off tack for a second. I was on stage 2 weeks ago or so in Belgium with a guy from Mobile World Congress. They are starting a separate festival to run alongside MWC that you can invite your partners and your kids to. We'll see if it works. They hope so. I don't know. When you go on a work trip, often you want to concentrate on work. Yes, you want to have fun. Yes, you want to have shareable moments. Yes, you want to be able to take all these wonderful pictures and show all the, your social network what you've been up to and how much fun it is, and FOMO that they should be feeling, and all these wonderful things. Can you balance a family event with a work event? I haven't seen one yet. We'll see how MWC get on. Shareable moments. Surely that's what it's all about. Has anyone, by show of hands, has anyone actually tweeted or Instagrammed anything today other than work? Like, oh, really excited to be going to ETL today? I had a quick look around earlier. There's some really cool stuff here. I don't know how much stuff there is that's like really engaging and fun, and you could send off to your personal networks to go, hey, look what we're doing at work. Come work with, this is really good fun, brilliant. And gain some really good amplification that way. Shareable moments. If you can't see the pictures, this is Xerocon again. This was in Brisbane 10 weeks ago or so. We've got a skateboard ramp for an accountancy meeting. It works in Australia. We'll see if it works here. Xerocon comes to London next week, or the week after. A skateboard ramp. You get given your own blank skateboard. You can design it with stickers and colors and all sorts, and then potentially use it as well. And you've got a barber's. Who goes to an accountancy platform event and gets your hair cut? It's all about, you weren't expecting it. It's really useful. It probably saves you time. And you're going to tell people about it. It has huge reach, this event, by throwing in some real good shareable moments. We haven't got yet the social data from Brisbane. But in terms of the last point there is insight. Each of these activations is deliberately designed to reinforce the message that Xero are giving their customers that they save them time. They give them their life back. They're a small business application. Small business owners are busy people. They've got their businesses to run. They don't want to be tacked off doing their paperwork and their VAT invoices and so forth. So by buying the product and using the service, they get all this wonderful fun back into their lives. So which came first? I racked my brains for about 10 minutes on this one. Festivals, been around a very long time. We used Glastonbury, first started in 1970. I'm assuming nobody here was actually at that one. 1970. But then interesting, it was 1994, they looked at putting it on free-to-air TV. They'd looked a couple of years previously, so I understand, and turned it down. 1994, Channel 4 went in and said, hey, we'll do free-to-air TV of as much of the program as we can. This is before the red button. And it was decided that yes, and then we all know the result. It's increased the currency of the actual tickets and increased this wonderful millennial word, FOMO. Just because you can see it on TV doesn't mean you're there. It has increased the value of the live proposition by showing them something on a digital channel. It is, they went on sale the other day, didn't they? They went out in the usual 20 minutes or so. So actually, by giving it away free, you can see the benefit. So we started originally with social media versus brand experience. I'm going to cross out the versus because the two, and this will not surprise any of you guys, they go hand in hand. But you do need to curate your event. You need to create the customer experience. You need to give people, we see this in events also from some of the larger ones like Salesforce events. They will oversell. There's no way you can get everyone in the plenary. It increases the value of the plenary if you get there early and get into it. They don't provide enough food for everyone that comes. It's a free event. They are building the hype around their events. They are putting in, we all like to talk about individual customer journeys within your event. That's great. You know, ZeroCon, Pep City, Salesforce events, they're all zoned. You can turn up, you can consume what you want to. They'll give you something fun to take a picture of. It may be just that simple, and out it goes. And therefore, you end these huge millions and millions of retweets and shares and impressions, and a wonderful way to increase the value of your brand event. So back to the title. Know your audience. You've got to provide for everyone that's going to come and use your brand and your products. As event organizers, we have to understand the brand enough to know who's going to come and what they're going to like. Would a skateboarding ramp work at an accountancy event in London? Are English people, would we be up for that? I don't know, we'll find out. One size does not fit all. You've got to provide people, you know, I'm just looking across you guys here, I'm sure you all like different stuff. If we can provide something that engages each of you as part of a large event, fantastic, you will all partake and you will become the citizen, the brand journalist in your own right. And we all know the stats around personal referrals versus advertising. It's at 90 to 10 or something similar like that. And give people the opportunity to do it. And literally this morning, and I'll finish with this one. This is from Forbes, fairly well-known organization, published on October the 29th. And they're saying that seller engagement will increase by 10% as more transactions close digitally. Which when I first read it, I thought, no. I'd much prefer to talk to a human to buy stuff off people I know, all those usual, you know, people by people stuff. So it sounds a little bit counterintuitive. But actually, Forbes claim that digital engagement via social channels is now so advanced that you can deliver a personal experience. And I will quote, digital engagement is actually enabling a more intimate relationship with your customer. It sounds completely the wrong way around, but the use of all these mountains of data that people have now means that you can create an event that is engaging on the ground. We're at an event now, take a look around, see how engaging some of these stands are compared to others. And what is going to turn you into a proponent of the event that you're at or the brand that you're attending. And I would leave it there. Thank you. Any questions?
Great. Thank you, Matt. First question is, where do you get the inspiration for event ideas, and how do you determine if it will produce desired results?
Good question. Thank you. From Anonymous. I'm lucky. I don't have to sit and think of all the ideas. I have a whole creative team that does it. And Invent also has a division called Heavy who branded content, and they call it predictive analytics. It's looking at what people like and giving them what they like based on hard data. In terms of the engagement and things I showed you at ZeroCon, which I guess, or where do we come up with some of these wacky ideas, we look at what people like to do, what they actually like to do in their lives, and make sure it's aligned to the brand that we're putting it forward. And the rest kind of develops itself. You know, oh, okay, we can put a skateboarding ramp, and here's a bunch of branded skateboards. No, we'll get them to design their own. Then they've bought in, they'll take it home. The kids will see it. There's brand exposure to the next generation. There's all sorts of, basically any part of your life when you go home tonight and think, well, what do you do when you're away from work? You can bring elements of that into an event.
Next question. How do you break through the event experience clutter?
Another good question. I'll throw it back to whoever asked it. I said at the beginning, our best work is delivered with challenger brands. Challenger brands have a very specific proposition. Harley Davidson do not sell to all motorcyclists. They sell to people who like Harley Davidsons, and I'm sure there's a very, very detailed demographic of those types of people. Pepsi is bizarrely not trying to become the largest selling brown fizzy drink in the world. They do very well, thank you very much, as they are. Samsung, who are very much the challenger brand to Apple, actually sell more than Apple, but they have that kind of sort of quirky character. So we try and develop, and I can only talk from events experience, we try and design, develop and deliver events that are specifically for that demographic, for that challenger brand. And there's a lot of academic work around challenger brands. You can just Google it in Amazon, out comes lots of stuff. Eat Big Fish is a really good one about how, obviously, but being very specific in the activations that you try and put on site. I say in a real short answer to a long answer.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Do you have an example of an event that was meant to amplify social platforms?
Do you mean an event that was not necessarily, that was designed specifically to be amplified?
Right, like maybe a smaller, more intimate event that isn't meant to, draw crowds or huge numbers, but meant for social.
Yeah, absolutely. Not one that we've mentioned before. It's an event for aforementioned Samsung. They hold press launches for all their different. We're involved in their Note series, the Galaxy Note, launching that to the press and to consumers globally. Each of the last 3 launches, for Note 8. If you remember, Galaxy Note 7 used to blow up on planes and stuff, so 8 was quite important. A lot of thought went into that one. It's an event for about 2,000 invited press and Samsung VIPs, held in New York generally, but it's specifically designed in 3D LED, actually, for one camera angle. So roughly where the black umbrella is at the back there. If you're not sitting at that exact angle, you don't get the full effect. Doesn't matter. We had 2,000 people at the event. It live streamed at one point, maximum 45 million people. That's what it was designed for. So it didn't really matter that the 2,000 didn't get the best experience or the best viewpoint, because 45 million clearly outweighs it. Is that right?
That's it. That was great. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.